Hello, welcome to this one. In this video, we're going to be going over the DC2 machine on Proving Grounds Play. It's also an easy box, just like the DC1. Very beginner-friendly machines. I'd recommend if you are starting out in your pen testing journey or starting out with boxes. These are two very good boxes to start with. Especially this one. This one's quite guided, so as you'll see in a minute, there's quite a few little flags and hints there, and you'll definitely learn a few things from it if you're just starting out. So getting into it, as you can see here, I'll just quickly run my map scans as before. So we're scanning all ports on map scan with the -P-, and this is showing us as two ports open. At first glance, you're not going to know what this second port is, so we're going to do a more aggressive scan, and we'll find out that on port 80 there's a domain system running. As we can see through the banner here, it'll try to redirect. Well, It did. Oh, sorry. The reason why it's not is I've already added it to my host file. But if I hadn't actually added it to my host, it would tell you that this is running on the hostname DC2. Apologies about that. And also we can see the SSH is running on this port here. Again, it's a non-default port, so off the bat, if you just chin this off and didn't read your nmap output or just didn't perform an aggressive scan, you wouldn't have seen this, and this will come in handy later. So right away, when we go here, I'm just going to quickly log out. Apologies. So when we go straight to this website, we can see I'll always go through any sort of site whenever on a box or anything like that, just to see what it's got. Because again, it could give us hints, and in this case, it's definitely going to do that. So just a quick little one. If we're going on Windows machines or anything to do with a domain or a network, if we see our people, things like that, or what we do, it's always a good thing to have a look on here. You might find usernames, things like that you can use. In this case, as you can see, it's just junk text. There's nothing too interesting on here. As we go along, again, same thing. But then when we go to flag, we're going to see something interesting. So your usual word list probably won't work. Maybe you just need to be cool. So for those who don't know, cool is a tool that's used to generate word lists. And in this case, that's exactly what we are going to do. So what we're going to do is just take our host name and create a word list from it. As you can see, I've already done it. Now with this word list, what we will do is we'll use a tool called WP Scan WordPress Scan. Really good tool for pen testing, or if you've just got your own WordPress site, it'll tell you things wrong with it, and it'll tell you what things are accessible, as you're going to see in a second. So as you can see, I've already ran this, but all we're doing, we're specifying the domain, the site which to run it on, and I've generated word list that we've done through Cool. We'll put this in a file. I'll just put this in a file called DC2 word list. And as you can see now, it's going to perform a brute force attack if it finds any usernames. If it doesn't, it'll go off a default list, but as you'll see now for the output, it will find some usernames in this case. So what I was saying before about this tool, it's not just for brute forcing. As you can see, it's a full security scanner. It'll go through, it'll tell you interesting things. Like you can see, it's running Apache 2.4. Might be good if you run a vulnerable web server. XML RPC, you can use this to enumerate usernames and other things about the system if it's enabled, and it just happens it is on this machine. It's not the way forward, but it is something to note. The WordPress README, things like this. Again, this could tell you not so much specifics about the machine, although you very well can do that. But it might, if you find that things like a README being left in there, maybe other things have not been configured correctly. Things like that. It's just something to be aware of. Tells you the theme in use. This is might be good if you get an admin account. You can see, or potentially this is a WordPress theme, some sort of exploits with it. The WordPress version that's available. So if there's any exploits on that version, it enumerates plugins. This is a really good one. Backup configs. Occasionally you will see boxes with these, or maybe in the real world as well. If there's a config backup present, it can contain passwords and other sensitive information like that. As you can see, it has found some users for us. So we've got an admin user, a Jerry user, and a Tom user. Very nice. And now it's performed a password attack, again using XML RPC against these three users. And the good thing about XML RPC being enabled is that you can perform brute force attacks and not get logged out. This is why it's such a dangerous thing to have accessible. So if you're going to have this, or ideally if you've got your own WordPress site, you can block this to be accessible from users, either using HC access or some other firewall rules, things like that. In our case, with it not being blocked, we've been able to perform that brute force attack, and we've found two users, one called Jerry and one called Tom. So with these two passwords, we're just going to go back to the site and try and log in. So I believe this one was Jerry. as you can see, once we're logged in, we're not an admin account. If we were an admin account, we'd have a lot more things accessible on it. So if we were admin, we could upload malicious plugins or perform some sort of code execution, essentially. In this case, we're not, so we're just going to poke around. There's nothing on posts or nothing particularly interesting here, just a generic sort of post. We'll go to pages. As you can see on here, straight away, flag 2 catches your eye. If we read it, if you can't exploit WordPress and take a shortcut, there is another way. Hope you found another entry point. So with these nice little hints here, I spent about 5 or 10 minutes having a poke around on this before I actually went back and, well, as I reminded you earlier, to actually read your Nmap output. If I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have seen it as SSH. So I thought back to, oh, we've got credentials, so what's something that, you know, we should maybe go and try. What we'll do is we will try these credentials on SSH and see what we can get. So we'll try the Tom user first. And as you can see, in this case, Tom is able to SSH in. I'll tell you that Jerry is not, but again, that'll come in handy later. So I tried both of these passwords that we got here, the Tom and the Jerry user, and they weren't. Sorry, Jerry was not able to SSH in. Tom, however, is. So as you can see, we are Tom on the system. Can we? There we go. So this is what I wanted to see. Once we are on the machine, we quickly realise that we are in a restricted shell, as indicated by the R bash here. That is restricted bash. This is used by administrators or people setting up these machines to create a more of a restricted environment. There's various ways to do that. This is one of the ways of doing it. But all we've got to do now is escape from this restricted shell, and it'll give us access to more things on the machine. So right away you can see we don't have access to a lot of these default commands because our shell's been restricted. It's only set, if we look in our path here, we can only use utilities that are in here. So what we'll do, we'll have a look. We can see there's a few, and an interesting one here is V. So Vim, if you're ever in a restricted shell and you can use Vim, you can actually execute commands through Vim. Vim shortcut, : and then we execute a command. What we want to do is we want to set the shell to bash, and then we will run the shell by just typing shell. And now we are in a bash shell. So as you can see, if I can now cd to root, before I could not do that, whereas now I can. However, as you'll realise now, there's still certain things we can't do. So if we go back here, if you can see cat wasn't available before, we'll try and use cat now. Again, it's still not available. So in order to make this available, what we need to do is fix the path. So what we're going to do here is we're going to add the locations where these binaries are present, the user/bin folder, to our existing path variable. And now we should be able to use utilities like cat and things like that. And if we have a look on our flag3.txt, gives us a nice little indication. Poor old Tom is always running after Jerry. Perhaps he should sue for all the stress he causes. So we will try and switch user as Jerry, which we now can do, as before in a restricted shell we couldn't access that due to our limited environment. So we use Jerry's password. And right there, we've been able to switch into Jerry user. Straight away, when I'm always on a new account, I will always run sudo-list first to see if and what they can run. And in this case, we can see the Jerry user has access to Git, which is always lovely. And we are going to go back to our trusty web browser and go straight to GTFO bins. And if we just type in Git here, you can see straight away there's quite a few ways we can escape shell or get a shell here. So with sudo, this is a cool little one I was using before. And what we can do here, just like with Vim, we can actually spawn a shell from it. So we'll go back to let's type sudo user bin git, put in our command here, and this will bring us in to an environment where we can spawn a shell. So we're just going to tell this now to spawn as a bash shell. And as you can see after this, we are root. So now we have access to the root, or I can do whatever we want as root, as you can see. There we go. We have the proof flag there. Nice, very easy box. Nice and guided for those who are fairly new to this. So obviously you're going to learn a few key core concepts from this. Things like sudo, basic Linux commands, basic Linux privesc. There's nothing too complicated there. I hope you all enjoyed. After this, I will be doing DC4 and then DC9.